Hello, right, today we're going to tie a Clouser Minnow. I'll try and pop one up there for you. Don't know if it's going to stay there or fall off. Just tied this one. It's a little bit more flashy than a normal Clouser. Obviously this one has a chartreuse back, but you could use a yellow back, olive back, black back, or even just the brown hair off the other side of the bucktail, you know. I've caught on them all. This is a great fly for bass. Bass is primarily what I use this fly for. I can always rely on a Clouser Minnow to get me a bite, especially if the tough, you know, especially if it is tough. Once the seawater's been with it, it does sort of, you know, slim down to a lovely minnow kind of profile. And like I said, I like mine to be quite flashy. In the vise is a size 2 O'Shaughnessy style stainless steel hook. Find the stainless steel hooks last a bit longer in the salt water. Start the thread, which is UTC Ultra, and it's a 140 in chartreuse. Start it a couple of mil back from the eye, run it down till you're opposite the point of the hook. Come here, take the waste off. Then take the thread back in touching turns to about halfway. That's where we're going to tie in our dumbbell eyes, and I'm going to tie in some quite big dumbbell eyes. These are brass, so it's not quite as heavy as lead, but this fly does drop quite quickly in the water, so it's a great fly for deep water actually. These are 6.3 millimeter, and we're going to tie them in on top of the shank. A few cross wraps one way, a few cross wraps the other way, making sure they're staying 90 degrees, and make sure they're nicely level when you look at it from the eye. When you're happy, keep going, and then do some round the bottom of the eyes. Do some around the bottom of the eyes, but over the top of the hook shank. And what that does is strangle those threads that I previously cross wrapped, and it makes it incredibly tight, because that's it, obviously it's strangling them, squeezing them in, making them tighter. And that's solid on there. We will come in with a bit of super glue, or in this case I'm just using varnish. Either or is fine. Just soak it into those threads. Don't worry about putting too much on at this stage. You know, it's only going to make it stronger in my eyes. Anyway, now we're going to put the tail on, which is white bucktail. I'm going to be taking the bucktail from up here where it's not so hollow. Further down the bucktail you take it, the more hollow the hair is, and the more hollow the hair is, the more it will flare on you. And for a tail on a Clouser Minnow, I don't really want it to flare on me. So I'm going to cut some off right back to the skin to get the full length of the hair, make it easier for when you try and tie some, you know, get some more hair. Hold the ends of the fibres and pull out any short fibres like that. Now I'm going to do this over the bin. I've got a bin to the right of me. I'm going to do it over the bin, otherwise you make a terrible mess. Now strip them all out. Make sure the ends are nicely kind of tapered. I'm happy with that. Now I want about one, two, maybe 2.25, 2.25 times the hook shank for a length. We're going to make sure there's wax on the thread. We're going to be putting the fibres 45 degrees to the shank on my side of the hook. Come over with the thread and allow the thread torque to roll it over to the top of the hook. If it slips on you and goes too far like that just did, just manhandle it back the other way. You want these to stay on top of the hook. Take the thread down to the eye, and any manhandling you need to do it then. And then on your way back up, be much tighter. And then I'm going to come underneath the eyes, catching it on the back side of the eyes, forcing, I'm trying to pull the hair up now, and that will force the hair to stay on top of that hook shank. And we're going to run the thread back all the way to where it starts to bend round, when the hook starts to go around the bend. And there's your tail. Now we're going to tie in some flash, and this is crystal flash. It's quite a fine crystal flash, and I want, I don't know, maybe 3 fibres. What we're going to do is we're going to come round the back of the thread, catching it like that, and we're going to lay it on top of the hook shank. We're going to keep it on top of the hook shank. We're just going to use your nail or something to try and spread it on top of the hook shank. It can be quite tricky with fine crystal flash. Come over with a wrap, and now holding on to the bits that are facing forward of the eye and coming round, because I really want these to stay all the way up to the eye, stay on top of the hook shank. Pull them back if they've gone too far round. Catch them on the bottom and really try and hold it all down so it splays out a little bit. Once we've done that, we need to cut it to length. And I'm going to cut these all slightly different lengths, and with the longest bits being, you know, kind of like the length of the tail, because we're now going to come in with some holographic silver. Now this is Flashaboo. This is very, very mobile, very mobile, really glittery and shiny, and I love it in a bass fly. So we're going to take a length. I'm just going to straighten that kink out. That's better. We're going to match the ends up, but not perfect, so they're different lengths. And again, we're going to come around the back of the shank. I'm going to turn this fly, and these we want to be slightly longer than the tail. There we go. And I'm going to force these to stay on the side this time. I'm going to run this down. Catching it in, don't worry if it kind of rolls over to the top like it has there. You can see it's done that because this is going to come down the other side anyway. So it's kind of does you more of a favour. We're going to catch them in. I'm just going to turn this round to make sure I've got it perfectly on the side. And that's lovely. Take the thread up halfway, and again, cut this bit a little so they're different in length, just by a little bit. There we go. Now, the waist bit that we cut off of the Flashaboo, we're going to wrap round the body. So we're going to just catch it in up by the eyes, run it down. Don't worry if it twists on you like it's doing. We're going to be wrapping it round. Take the thread back up to behind the eyes, and we're just going to very carefully, this can be a bit tedious, very carefully run this Flashaboo up the body, and it always wants to slip on you. See, I knew that was going to do that. If it does just like misbehave on you, you can wax the inside of it, and it'll just help it grip a bit better. Now we've put a bit of wax on it. Sometimes you can get away with not doing it, but that obviously wasn't one of those times. And you've just got to be patient with it. I mean, it would help if I had a longer piece to play with, really. But, you know, there's nothing like making life difficult for yourself. Touching turns. Come up, trying not to catch your tail. And then catch it with the thread. Like I said, it can be tedious. Couple of turns, hold it back. Couple of turns, jump the thread. Because I've got the hook upside down, we're going to come over, because you want to go under those eyes, as it would be normally, and bring your thread to the other hook. Trim off the bit of Flashaboo. And now we're going to strengthen that body up a little bit by adding some varnish. So put some varnish on here. There we go. And it never hurts to put a bit of varnish on these bits of bucktail at the top. Let the varnish soak right into them, because it just strengthens it. You know, bass have got teeth. Just going to come around with another layer of varnish. I mean, really, you should let it dry completely. I know it only takes about 60 seconds to harden up, but you probably should wait until you do the second coat a little bit longer than I'm waiting here. But hey ho, I'm trying to do a video and you don't want to sit here watching me waiting for varnish to dry. So now we are going to put chartreuse bucktail. So I'm going to take it more towards the lower part, but still just below middle, I suppose. I don't want this to flare much really, but I do want it to flare a bit. So we're going to take a nice bit of the chartreuse bucktail. I'm just going to take it as a dark fibre there. I don't want. Again, take all the short fibres out. And again, I'm just doing it over the bin. Now, measurement wise, we want it to be just longer than the white, which this bit's about perfect actually. So I'm just gonna straighten this edges up with my scissors. Again, doing it over the bin. I'm going to wax my thread. Now I'm going to put this, obviously on this side, because this is going to be the top of the hook, because tying those dumbbell eyes on the top of the shank will force the hook to fish hook point up. So, I mean, it stops you getting snagged so much. I wouldn't exactly call it weedless, but it does help. Holding the fibres 45 degrees to the stem, to the shank. Come over with a sort of loose-ish turn and another one. Pull the fibres in so that they're not hanging too far over the hook shank. If you can help it, you don't want them hanging over at all. Come back with kind of loose-ish turns and then tighten up on the way back down until you get to the eye, and then see how everything is sitting. So, yep, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to use my dubbing needle to bring some of those fibres to my side of the hook so I can really see how everything's sitting. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to add a lot of pressure again. Now this is about as much pressure as I can put on this thread without snapping it. Back up. Now there's a funny hair or something there, but we're going to come in with some sharp scissors because I have got some stragglers here. So we're just going to cut them all off. Whoops, drop my scissors. Now we're going to come in with some Flashaboo again, and this is a really nice colour for the backs of them. It kind of helps accentuate whatever colour you put on there, whether it's brown, olive, chartreuse, yellow. This flash just seems to suck in that colour, or reflect the colour very well. So we're going to come in around again. Oh, just add a bit. There we go. Come around. Let the bobbin hold it for you. And we're going to put this right on the top. Get a hold of your bobbin. Couple of loose-ish turns. Get your nail if you can and try and spread these fibres as much as you can. It is quite difficult. Then bring it down, holding the fibres on the top. Holding the Flashaboo on the top. It's just, you got to be patient. There we go. Come down to the eye. Fold this all back. Try and spread it out with your thumb as best you can. Try and smooth it back past. Holding everything with your left hand. Come round with your thread up and down a few times, and we're going to just build a nice head. So I'm just going to spin my bobbin, and it's going to flatten the thread out a little bit for me. And we're just going to come round until we got a nice, neat head. And then we're going to come in with a whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I always do, even though I varnish, I always do 2 whip finishes. That's just slipped on me. I probably should have waxed that thread there, but it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Oh, just wind me bobbin up. I'm just going to put a bit of wax on this next one. Probably, it shows you the worth of putting wax on there. There. Come down. Oh, sort that out a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit messy, but, you know. If it slips on you, you've just got to deal with it. Like I said, that shows you the worth of putting wax on the thread. But there you go. That's absolutely fine. Now, we're going to varnish this. And again, we're just going to go back to the nail varnish. We're going to put some on all the way around. We're going to let the varnish sink in. This is where a rotary vise really comes in handy, because you can just keep it turning. There is a fibre in there I don't like, so I'm just going to get rid of that and keep it turning. Now what I'll do is probably do at least one, possibly two more coats of that varnish. But there you go. There is the Clouser Minnow. Let me just take it out of the vise for you, and we might be able to just hold on to it with some hackle pliers so you can look at it properly. There we go. Oh, let's just grab hold of it there. There we go. Obviously when the water gets hold of it, it really slims down, and it's a fantastic pattern. Good fun to fish. Anyway, if you like the videos, please subscribe. It does help. Hit the like button if you liked it. And it's probably not going to stay there, is it? And I'll see you on the next one. See ya.